Hello, my name is Yelitza. I work here at Metronet since 2 years. I've been working with WordPress like around a year. And lately,
Oh no, it's the fridge. It's a buzzing noise.
And lately I've been doing a lot of stuff with Gravity Forms. For those who know about WordPress, we have a lot of plugins out there that can be installed. Gravity Forms is one of those. Very powerful plugin for making forms, basically without writing a line of code. Yeah. So Gravity Forms is not free. You have to buy a license to use it. You can check prices and get that from their website. To install it, you will download a zip file, unpack it, and put that folder into the plugins folder of your installation. And then, of course, activate it in the admin panel. I'm not sure you can use it with a WordPress.com site. Not at all, right? When the plugin is activated, then you get a forms menu in your admin interface, and from there you can start adding your forms. So I added a new form, right, called order bike. Let's say we're gonna be developing a very simple and irrelevant example today. Let's say we have a bike shop and we want to make a form for people maybe start to order something, right? So what you do is that from the right side, you have a list of field types that you can add. And you start just by clicking on those, you get them in your form, and then you can edit that field and put a name, put options if it's a drop down, and so on. So you start adding fields and building your form. These are all the field types that come with Gravity Forms right after install. There is many others out there. There is so many add-ons and extensions for that plugin as well. But basically, some standard fields, right? Drop downs, checkboxes, single line of text, paragraphs, HTML block. Then some more advanced that has a lot of validation built in, right? So email, you can have already validation on an email field, address. Post fields are used when you want that the field you put on the form creates a post on WordPress, right? So out of the form you want to create posts, then you will use these fields right here. And pricing fields are for having product information. This is very basic. It's not like you can build a web shop with Gravity Forms. That's something out of the league here. But you can add some small functionality that has to do with prices and shipping and so on, right? Depending on the type of things that you have on your website. Okay, so that's just a little overview of the field types. So like I said, you add as many files, as many fields as you need for your form. Then, when you're done adding the form, we're just going through the drill of implementing a form, right? Very easily. When the form is done, then to be able to use it, to put it on your site, you will have to include it in a page or a post or this add form button is gonna appear after the plugin is installed. And with that one, you basically include forms in the content field of any page or post. Yes?
So can you, does it go and fetch all the forms you've already made, or do you make a form?
No, it fetches a form that you already made, right? So you click here, and then you have a drop down with all your forms, and you pick the one that you are interested in including. So you include the form with a shortcut, right? And that's it, right? I made an example, very simple, and I included it in the page, and when I see that page on the front end, this is how it will look like. So very easy to create a form and see it working right away. Very simple. So this will be a very basic implementation. These are drop-downs, these are checkboxes, and these are text lines. Now let's see other stuff that you can do, that you can build on top of this. Yes?
Is it easy to customize the design of it, or like the look and
Yeah,
feel?
of course. You're free to do whatever you want with the styles, right?
Using CSS, you just overwrite
CSS,
something, or-
yes. Basically, from your styles.css file, you can overwrite any of the styles here.
Is it possible to make it responsive as well? To scale according to screen sizes? and stuff
Definitely,
like
yeah,
that?
not a problem. You can also, and we're gonna see it later, you can also add specific CSS classes. Let's say that this field you want it to look different than all the others, then you can add a specific CSS class to that field only. So you can also do customization.
But is all the fields coming out of this like with a prefix or a selector that is unique for this plugin, or is it basically if you style it in your CSS, it affects all the forms and everything on your site? That is also not generated by the plugin.
It depends how you write your CSS, right? Because if you're gonna write styles on inputs,
Yeah, I was just thinking if I write general styles, for example, for input fields, and I have input fields that not necessarily are generated by this plugin, but I only want to use it for one specific purpose. I just wonder if, like, is there any predefined selectors for from the output from this? So I can pretty much target only the output. From
yeah,
the
of
plugin.
course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
You can be as specific as you want and as general as you want. But of course, there is a bunch of selectors already on these fields, and there is a lot of styles on these fields, right? So you will have to override those.
Yeah.
Okay, some stuff that you can do with gravity forms.
Just one add-on. You just mentioned that, you kind of mentioned it, but maybe not clear enough. When you show all the different types of fields,
Yeah.
those fields actually have logic behind them. So that if you have, for instance, if you add an email field, the end user have to enter an actual email address or an email formatted input. So it validates that it includes an @ sign and something dot something.
Right, so advanced, so many
It
fields,
validates the inputs.
Right, right. So you can, the cool thing is that each field you can you can already set them as required, right? And the advanced fields also have a lot of validation. So an email will have to be an email to be able to send the form. And you can have input masks, for example. So if you want these to be exactly 8 numbers, you can do that as well. We'll look at the back end in a while, so we can see some stuff. And then we can- Right, so let's say, for example, the telephone field.
Can you make it bigger? Make the
Yes. So let's take, for example, the telephone field. When I click edit on it, I have a lot of options. And one cool thing that you can do is add an input mask, and then there is some pre-formatted stuff there. You can add your own as well. For example, saying that it has to be 8 numbers. Yeah, update. Now my telephone has to be 8 numbers and cannot be anything else. Right? So there is a lot of course you have to install it and look for yourself. There is a lot of stuff that you can do there. You can also set a field as required. Then if the field is empty, you're not going to be able to send the form. And a lot of stuff is already done, right? So very simple to build a powerful form using this plugin. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. For example, with Gravity Forms, you can, if you have a very long form with many fields, you can break it into several pages. And for that, we will use the field types section break and page break. So with section break, remember by clicking on the field becomes part of the form. Adding a section break is adding like a title, and adding a page break creates a separation between the fields of the form.
and you can drag this up and down as well.
Yeah, and you can change the order. So my simple form now I broke it into a page 1 for choosing size and color, a page 2 for adding additional stuff to my bike, and a page 3 for content information. Okay, by adding this page break. So very simple to make your form have several steps. Like I said, it's possible to throw in product price functionality. For doing that, it's smart to adjusting your currency settings, right? Because they are going to be in US dollars to begin with. So I'll change them to Norwegian crowns, and you can do that from form settings. Very easy to get there. And then, when you start adding, like Arstan say, these field types have a lot of logic behind them, right? So they are already doing stuff for you. If you add a product field, then you can choose whether it's going to be a single product or a drop-down, and you can add options and with them prices. For example. And also, if you use the total field, that will print out the total of any products that have been selected, the sum.
And that's client-side calculations, is it?
That's happening on the front, yeah.
Yeah.
Only, yeah.
Yeah.
At the moment there.
Yeah.
So now my form, my step 2 of my form, right? I added a product field that will have multiple products, so it was a drop down, right? And that had 3 options, 4 type of pedals, and here will be the total. So if I added other drop downs with other products, here will be the total of whatever products I chose in my form. Yeah. Many times when we create a form, we want, if we check an option, we want other fields to appear. If we check another option, we want a different group of fields to appear on screen, and so on. With Gravity Forms, we can use a lot of conditional logic. So any field has an advanced tab where you have some more options, and here is the CSS class name I was talking about before, right? So you can add a CSS class that you can later use for styling. But now I want to look closer to the enable conditional logic option. So there you can choose whether to show or not that field if the following conditions are met. If we go back to my example, let's say that I only want to show this drop-down if the customer has clicked that he wants to add pedals, right, to the ordering. So only when he checks on this one, I want him to be able to choose what type of pedals he needs. So I go to the choose type of pedals field and go to advanced and click enable conditional logic, and there I say, well, just show this field when additionals, which was the checkboxes field, right, this one right here, is equals to pedals, right? So when that one is checked, then my drop down with pedals options is gonna show up. Then let's say that the total field, right, will only show if additionals is any of them, right? Because let's say that I have prices attached to options for brakes, options for bells, etc., etc. So I can say, well, okay, show the total if any of the following conditions match. Additional pedals, or these breaks or bells. That means that when I click in any of the additionals, I will choose some other products with prices, and then the total will, to have the total field will make sense. Yeah, so if I haven't checked any of my additionals, I don't know why I chose that name. That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, if I don't check any of those, then my type of pedals, type of bells, type of brakes, etc., won't show up. Only until I check, then they will show up. So imagine what you can do with any field you add has this conditional logic thing, right? You can build stuff that is the craziest customization form, ordering forms that are so complex with this type of logic. Okay. You can also populate the fields in the form dynamically. Also, from the advanced option, and remember you have the advanced options for any field. You have something called allow field to be populated dynamically, and then you will enter the name of the parameter that will be connected to that field. This name you make it up yourself. So let's say that I want to create a link on another page for buying specifically a small bike or a medium bike or a large bike, right? Let's talk now about the field called bike size. So I'm adding this bike size parameter name to the field called choose a size, which is the first field of the form that allows you to be able to pick whether you want a small, medium, or large. And then that's it. You can pass parameters through the URL with get variables. So there I pass the bike size large. So this link, wherever it is, will take me to the form with already large picked. Or let's say that you don't want to pass that special field on the URL because, let's say, something more sensitive or more personal or whatever, you don't want it exposed. Then you can pass the field through the shortcode where you included the form. Like this. Of course, here, the example is too simple, right? This is not the type of field that you will want to protect. But let's say it was something else, right? Let's say that you were using the same form, that you had a huge long form for collecting user information, and there is a few things that change, right? So you can reuse the form and pass different variables, and then the form will be for ordering or a bike or a boat or whatever, something else. You can use it for different things. And also, based on that field, then later you could build more conditional logic, right? You could say, well, these fields are going to show up if bike size is large. These fields are going to show up if bike size is medium. Here's an example of how to pass several fields. Right? Let's say that you have much more dynamically populated fields. Okay, now let's talk about the confirmation page, or the page that is shown when the form is submitted. That one can be customized as well. right? You have in the backend, in the forms menu, you have something called confirmations. And there you can have a confirmation as a simple thank you text. Thank you very much for your order, or for taking contact with us, or for submitting your information, or any message you want. Or you can choose a page from the content, right? Let's say that you want to control the thank you message from a page in the site. Or you can redirect this info to some external URL. So you have those three options. And something very special that you can do if you decide to write text on this, is that you can customize your thank you message to include the fields, the answers that the person entered in the form. Right? Okay, so for example, thank you for ordering, here is your summary, you pick this color, and there is some annotation that Gravity Forms uses to be able to pick up those fields. Right? Also from this little thing right here, you can pick. So you don't have to know how to write the code there, but you just can pick which field is the one that you want to include in the confirmation message. And for those who like more complexity, then you can also do conditionals and say, well, if the field number 10 was pedals, then show me which type of pedal the customer chose. So it's cool to know that the confirmation pages support this kind of code. Right? And then when I submit my form, that will be the thank you message. You can also, if you don't care about making your own text and formatting how the thank you message looks, then you can just print all the fields. Right? So with a all fields statement there, or just by clicking this, that will include an all fields statement that will just show the whole list of fields right away. So you don't have to write, you chose this, you chose that, you chose pedals, you didn't choose pedals. So if you didn't care how things look, or if you didn't care about customizing your own text for the thank you page. Now let's say that you now let's say that you wanted to show different thank you messages depending on some options, right? Depending on some selection that the person made in the form. Then as soon as you add a new confirmation, you will get in all the confirmations, you will get conditional logic as well. So this confirmation will only show if this field is this. There you can see how really specific the forms can go, right? If you have several departments, or you have a form where you can order different things, then if you order shoes, you want to thank you in a way, or have a confirmation in a way. Okay, so that was the thank you page. Now let's talk about the emails that are sent. right? Because normally when, of course, if it's a very simple contact form like hi, o sea, just name, email, and message, you don't have to do such a big deal. But let's say that you want to build something more complex. After ordering or a complicated form, then you probably want to send some emails to the customer and to yourself or to the shop or to whoever needs. And with Gravity Forms, you also can configure notifications. So you will add a notification and will look like this. So this will be the email to the customer. It will be sent to select a field from the form, since I'm picking up the email of the customer in the email field. I will use that. And then the subject and the message. And in the message, again, I can just drop a list with all the fields of the form, or I can not show that at all and say, thank you for ordering, we will call you soon. Or write your own custom summary, or using the fields, remember, with the type of, including each field at a time, right? And even writing conditionals. If pedals was selected, then show the type of pedals and so on. All of that can be done also from here, from the confirmations, from the notifications. Then I also can add an email, or as many emails, I can add as many notifications as needed. And I can also do routing for the notifications, right? So send that email to some address if some attribute was a specific value, or send it to another address if size, this is wrong, not doing anything, right? Basically, every email will be sent to both receivers. Right, so I can configure different receivers depending on the attributes that were entered in the form.
And you can set up multiple notifications.
Yes, as many as you need.
Yeah. Do you also have database actions? So that
Every form, like every entry of the form, is stored in the database as well. So you can go to the admin interface and see all the entries of that form as well. So you don't even have to send email, let's say, right, if you didn't want to.
Can you set it not to do that if you want to?
To not store in the database? Not that I know, but it should be possible. To not store on the database.
I'm just thinking of a really big website that gets tens of thousands of messages every day. They might not want to store here.
Yeah. True. Yes.
And also, if you want to kind of trigger some kind of logic,
For example.
yeah, some kind of custom code that's being executed when the form is being filled.
There is a huge list of hooks
Yeah,
for Gravity Forms.
yeah,
But also the list is,
yeah, and you can make your own hooks.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
it's very, very customizable. Okay, so emails. I don't know who has worked with Gravity Forms before. Me? Okay. Yeah. That's it. So this, I don't know if this is gonna be like cool, but like when I was working with them, I really needed to show a summary of the form before sending the form, because I wanted to show the customer, hey, you chosen this, this, and this. Do you agree are you sure? Right? Because the ordering process was so long that I needed to show some sort of summary before he could continue and really say, okay, send. The thing is that with Gravity Forms, you cannot make that summary before you have sent the form. The same type of summary that we've been doing for confirmation pages and notification pages. So I found out that I found out that I could, okay, add an HTML field and write into the form, right? Add an HTML block and then write the same type of code. But to be able to do that, the form needs to be broken into pages, and I need to use some, let's say, an extension. It's really some code into the functions.php that some guy at GravityWiz made called better pre-submissions confirmation, right? He made, let's show it. He made a piece of code to make it possible to be able to write a summary before the form is even sent. Okay, so installing that, and that is just copying the piece of code and putting it in my function.php for those who have done any theme development. This feature is very advanced anyways. Then I will be able to add an HTML block into the form, call it order summary. Maybe, remember that we broke the form into pages. Have that block in one of the last pages. It is your summary. And from there, I have access to the fields that the customer has entered before even sending the form. Right? So I can do some cool summaries or some cool, very customized pages with the stuff that he has entered already before even sending.
It would also be possible for the end user to actually get a link and jump straight back to the point. If they want to change, say you have 15 fields to enter, right? Over a form broken up to 5 pages.
Right.
And you want to edit a field in the second page.
Right.
Can you link it straight back to, oh, okay, I want something wrong there, and you can click it to go straight back to the second page and edit that?
I cannot tell you right away, yes, for sure, you can do that, but
Or how would the process be if you can't? You have to like backtrace? all the way
Right,
back to
right,
the
right.
second page to edit?
First answer is yes, you have to click the back button and go
Just
back
looking
there.
at it like in an interaction design point of view, like
But no, but no. It has to be possible, for sure, yes.
right.
Does it create a unique session per user?
Definitely. You're
Because
talking
then-
about what, PHP session?
Yeah, PHP session, but then you can go back and you can still continue the same session. But
Right.
that's what I'm talking about, because the database has to save the amount of process you have done so far
Right.
as a unique session, and then I guess you can go back and edit that after a while.
Right,
when it
like go back
expires
to the
and-
form, go
yeah.
back to the form before sending it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Does it do a session?
I cannot promise you that you're gonna be able to go back
Okay. That doesn't matter. But
with all the with all the stuff that you have filled in.
Hmm.
Right, this is the kind of stuff that you kind of have to play with it and figure it out. Okay. So for those who are interested in this, that's the place. You can also export your forms, right? Let's say you have spent 2 days building your form locally, right? And now you want to put it on your domain. There is an export function, right, where you select which forms you want to export, and then on the new installation you will do the opposite, right? You will import the form. So very easy to move forms between sites. Right, this is, since the plugin is in English, it has some Norwegian translations, but I also had to deal with translations when I work with it. I think there is other translation plugins out there, but I've used that one, which seems to, recommendation of Brian, right? Which seems to be working pretty well. It's called Code Styling Localization. And this plugin allows you to manage translations for Gravity Forms and really any other plugin or any theme. So if you make your theme and you have text, translatable text on your templates and so on, with this plugin you will be able to add languages, scan the files for strings, and edit the translations from the admin interface. So you don't have to go and write your own PO file and generate your own emo file from the server, etc., but you could use the admin interface to translate.
Could you say the name of that plugin again, please?
Yeah, it's called, well, I guess that later you will have access to this presentation, but it's called
Code styling localization.
Code Styling Localization. This one is free.
And we could probably post links at the meetup forum as well, and add some options in there too. For this, for duplicator, where so people can check out different things.
Definitely. So using this plugin is very simple. You find for example, for required fields in the form, whenever the customer is filling out the form, if he doesn't enter something in that field that is required, he gets an error message, right? This field is required. So I want that error message in Norwegian or any other language, then I just come to my plugin and add the translation. Search for the field that I'm looking to translate. I see that the translation is missing, add it, and then generate the emo file, which is the one from which WordPress picks up the translation. And this is all, so after you activate the plugin, you can find this interface in Tools Localization. So it's only to, install it, play with it, see how it works, really. This is just like a sneak peek of all the things that you can do, of some of the things that you can do, because it's really a lot. Another issue when making forms is privacy, right? You always want to protect your customer's information. And of course, if it's a contact form, maybe it's not so important, but if it's a very complex form where you're collecting a bunch of personal data, address, telephone numbers, and so on, you want to make sure you keep that information safe, since this Gravity Forms is passing information in plain text, and the emails are also being sent in plain text. What I did was, or one way to do it is installing an SSL certificate on your server, and then with a plugin called WordPress HTTPS, I got the possibility to secure a post or a subtree of posts from the admin interface. Right, so every page now has the option to run on HTTPS. So I don't have to make the whole site run on HTTPS, but maybe choose the form or whatever subtree I want. Right, so this solved the problem from the client to my server. And then the next problem is the email sending, right? Because it's important also to secure the email sending. And for that, I used a plugin called WP Mail SMTP. Then, in settings email, when I install the plugin, I have a new menu under settings called email, and from there I can configure SMTP options. I can say that all the email from WordPress is going to be sent through SMTP, and I don't know what is this. And then I can add SMTP information and say use SSL encryption, use authentication, this is the secure port, I want to use this SMTP server, and that's it. You're also securing the communication on the email communication as well. Okay. That's it for now. There is a lot more. There is a lot more about Gravity Forms. A lot of information on the web. They have their own website as well. Thank you so much.